The number of dengue cases here reached a peak of nearly 650 cases a week in mid-July. Now, the numbers are coming down, but they are still high. There were about over 2,300 reported cases in August alone, with about 150 active dengue sites remaining at the start of this week.
The good news is researchers have made a possible breakthrough in treating the more severe dengue haemorrhagic fever. That's a tricky one for me to say.
Got it right.
Well, to tell us more about it, Dr. Ashley St. John is here. She's assistant professor at Duke-NUS's Emerging Infectious Disease Program and corresponding author of this research. Now, I know you have no problem saying that word, but tell us a bit more about it then. Why is it such a cause for concern?
So dengue hemorrhagic fever is a severe complication of dengue. It's very rare, but when it occurs, it involves bleeding and vascular leakage. It's a cause for concern because it can be life-threatening, but also there are not any treatments, targeted treatments, so there are no drugs that can be given that are very specific for treating dengue hemorrhagic fever.
That doesn't sound very reassuring.
No.
But we understand that there is a certain enzyme that's responsible for blood vessel leakage in severe cases. Can you tell us something about that?
Right. So our research is looking into this enzyme called tryptase. And so basically your blood vessels are made of cells, and they're held together by proteins that create a seal. And that seal prevents the blood from leaking out of the blood vessels. And so tryptase acts like a pair of scissors where it can come along and it can cut these links between the cells, and that allows the fluid, the blood, to seep out. So that causes two problems. First, you can have pooling of the fluid in the tissues that can lead to organ damage, or you can have a low blood volume, which makes it very difficult for the heart to pump the blood through the vasculature, and then that in turn can result in shock.
And how prevalent is this? I mean, how big a concern is this?
So dengue hemorrhagic fever happens in a very minority of cases, maybe about 5% of all dengue cases, but when it does happen, of course, it's of great concern. And
Singapore's not the only country that suffers from this sort of thing.
That's right. That's right. So this whole region is also experiencing a boom in the cases of dengue at this time.
How would we anticipate, tryptase being used then in a sort of commercial, practical sort of way?
So we've done a lot of preclinical studies, so laboratory experiments that show that we can use inhibitors of tryptase and block this vascular leakage. We can reverse it. And so, down the line, we hope that we can do some clinical trials, perhaps, and try to show if this works in humans, if we're able to reverse the vascular leakage and prevent shock the same way it works in the lab.
Is there any indication, at this stage, like how long it might take for this to actually sort of become available?
That's a good question. These things take time, so it does take time to design and plan and execute the sort of trials. But we think that it's promising because in this case, one of the drugs that we're interested in is used for some other purposes. So maybe we can repurpose it and make that process a little more efficient than it would normally be.
And just sort of a bigger question about dengue in general. Why is it so difficult for us to deal with this?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. There are so many reasons, right? So, we have the problem of the mosquitoes that are everywhere. We have the problem of climate, and then the virus is very adapted to us. When our immune system recognizes it, it responds in a very strong way, and sometimes the immune system causes damage. So there's so many different layers of the problem of dengue, but hopefully we can tackle them one at a time.
Well, we just certainly seem to. We wish you all the best with your efforts to tackle this particular strain of it, if that makes any sense. Dr. Ashley St. John, assistant professor of Duke-NUS's Emerging Infectious Disease Program.